welcome everybody who joined by now. If anybody joins in the moment, we will start slowly by introduction. So I just would like to remind everybody what we will talk about. We will talk about the science of aging well. And we are not using the word longevity because, in our opinion, it's a little bit overused recently. It became a very trendy word. And actually, we are here to talk about good aging. Aging in the context of our cellular health, which Dirk and Steffen will explain why it's so important to start everything on the cellular level. So we will cover today things like, of course, introduction. We will say why we are here and what we are doing. We will talk about the science behind personalized nutrition. Then we will explain the difference of our technology versus everything else existing on the market. We will talk about how you can get your personalized protocol, and of course we prepared some special offer for everybody who joined us today. And we invite you to ask questions we will answer in the end of our meeting, but please feel free to ask also during the masterclass on our chat. And you can also give your comments if you agree with something or if you have different experience. You are warmly invited to share whatever you want to share. So let's explain who we are and what we are doing. The three of us who meet you today, who will lead this masterclass, we are people who, of course, have a big passion for health. We believe that if you join us, you also have at least big interest in your health. Our passion for health didn't come from nothing. Actually, it was born in pain. All three of us, we experienced certain problems with our own health at different levels of our lives. Dirk, our hero, he was diagnosed with colon cancer when he was 25. Today, Dirk is one of the most recognizable nutritionists in Holland. He works with all kinds of scientific centers all over the world. He's lecturing. He's teaching also professional doctors who surprisingly don't have a very good general knowledge about nutrition as one of the ways of supporting our health. Dirk is also our CSO. He's one of a precursor in personalized supplementation, and he's helping thousands and thousands of people to gain back their health balance. Steffen, our friend from Germany, he's helping us to develop our product and our technology on the German market. He's health consultant, and also his passion for health came from his own struggle with his autoimmune disease. Steffen, like Dirk, is also sharing his knowledge and supporting other people with their own struggle for health. My story was kind of similar. When I was in my mid-40s, which was more or less 15 years ago, I started suffering from terrible pains of, I had headaches, I had belly aches, also panic attacks and depression. So I was suffering not only physically, but also mentally. And if any of you ever suffered this way, you know that both physical and mental suffer is really something extremely, extremely painful and can really strip you of any will of enjoying life. So for all three of us, of course, we tried to use our health system, and we had some kind of help, but this health system was treating our symptoms and not our root causes. So all three of us, in different time, in different circumstances, we came to the same conclusion. We are responsible for our health, and we have to take care of our health. So when we had this possibility, when our founders, Dirk, Pablo, and I, when we were introduced to ACG world and when we met their super technology, personalized technology, which is called personalized capsule machine, we knew that it was really super important moment in our life. This technology was created for chemotherapy. It is based on pharmaceutical standards and made for highest possible precision, which is of course required for chemotherapy. It was created by the team of the best engineers in this space. It took more than 3 years, more than $5 million, and in the end, it was patented with 7 patents. So it is really very serious stuff. This is the only technology of this kind existing at the moment in the world, and we have exclusive right to bring it to the supplement industry. Well, we also have fantastic partnership on the field of science. We are working with University of Westminster Center for Nutraceuticals, led by Professor Gurres Zarivala, one of the leading specialist authorities on the field of nutrition. Everything what we are doing is validated by his team. So we work with proprietary algorithms, which of course were also validated by university. We work with health survey, which is based on the gold standards of the industry. We work with the best existing ingredients. So every ingredient was specifically chosen. Every ingredient has clinical trials, and many of them has also patents. So this is more or less what we have in terms of technology and science. But there is also something what I have to mention now. We are working with technology of beetlets. This is the most advanced delivery system existing, used very, very rarely in a supplement industry. This is very expensive technology, but it's really worth its price because it makes absorption rate the highest possible. So actually it is used in a pharmaceutical space. Of course, there are some medications, some pharmaceutical products which need extremely high absorption, extremely precise absorption in the right place, in the right time in our guts. So this delivery system is the most precise and it brings the highest rate of absorption possible, and we are using it. This is just to explain more or less what we are, and now I would like to give the floor to my colleagues, but maybe before I do it, I will just mention that our technology and our idea of product and what we are doing is very much appreciated by science in general, by the space of science. We were invited by University of Westminster to create together the project which we are calling Living Lab. And this project, which will take months and years, we will work with 1,000 of participants, and we expect to collect a huge amount of data, which then will be shared with general science and, of course, with the society. And it will be our part of participating in the development of the health system. And we are really very proud of ourselves that we can participate this way and that society will benefit from what we are doing. So now I would like to invite Steffen and Dirk, and thank you very much again for being with us, and enjoy the masterclass. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Anna. I'll take over. So this was a little introduction, and I think this is part of the introduction that makes this statement here on the screen pretty much our philosophy. We believe that nutrition should never be generic because there are going to be different reasons for different people attending over here, why they're interested in that topic, and each and every one of us presenting here has their own background with it. And we are all different. Even though if I would have an identical twin and we would share the same genetics, we could still have different demands because of different lifestyle. So we believe that nutrition should also have a different approach for each and every one here. So should be your supplementations. And this is part where we come in. And I would like to start here with an open question to everyone. These are key areas that we have identified, which we will go into detail to talk about today, or at least some of them. And I would like to ask the open question. Anyone who's here today, you have a reason why you joined, why you're interested in aging well. In which of those areas do you see yourself maybe have room for improvement? I could reframe it instead of having struggle. If you have any comment on that, like please feel free and put that into the chat. Otherwise, keep it in mind because we're going to extend and elaborate on a couple of these areas moving forward. So here's a quote that I would like to start with. A healthy man or a healthy woman wants 1,000 things, and a sick man only wants one. I find this quote by Confucius very like on the point because there's so many people running around doing so many things, and we have so many goals in life. But I, for myself, and I think I can speak for Dirk as well, when you come to a point of like really being sick, like there is only one thing you care about, and that is to become healthy again and being functional. So this is very much how I would like to move forward because this is one of my ethos as well, why I very much care about this. So let me explain you a little of the background, like give you some facts, some data, what is actually happening in the world in regards to health status. So we have a chronic disease epidemic, and we've seen this data already from 2019, which has been pulled from the Netherlands. And this is just an example, but there is more data on other states around the world, which even have worse data. So this data over here shows that at least 50% or even 55% of society living in Netherlands in 2019 had some way or form of chronic disease. And this can go from diabetes to heart disease, autoimmune disorders, or metabolic syndrome, just to name a few. And this is done or this is happening because there is no real incentivation at the moment in the system that is there. And oh, the word is actually missing or not highlighted, but that should say the very bottom sentence for prevention, because the whole system is not like designed for a preventative approach. So when we look at certain aspects, oh, can I go next slide? Yep. This is what is actually happening. Because of all of that, we do have a silent health crisis because the current model, how it's run, is still a pharmaceutical dependent model, which is just managing disease, but it's not preventing disease. Then we have a lot of other factors coming into place, one of them being toxic food environment, also societal stress, and then also the healthcare gap. So that means we have many factors coming together, which all together accumulated, put a lot of stress on the system and also giving not solutions that specifically for chronic conditions that develop over time are actually a solution. At least in my case, it was just at the bottom of treatment of normal doctors. It would lead to, oh, here's a pill, you can take that, but that's what we can do for you. But for me, it didn't end there. It actually just started there. So I said, okay, when I have this option, what else can be the options? So look at this. The current model, how it actually is, we can say or sum it up, it's really not treating the root causes. Pharmaceutical system, it's not treating it because the whole system, as I said, the food system and other systems coming into place, they're not designed to make you healthy because of reasons. And we're going to go into a couple of them right now. One of them, we call it the modern malnutrition, because nutrients are a key factor in becoming healthy. And if they're missing, we are not able to heal fully. What are we seeing in Western society? We have calorie rich but poor nutrient diet or nutrient poor diets. That means we eat foods, which some of them are displayed over there. They are high in caloric intake, but they don't contain a lot of nutrients. They're actually, if you want to say, actually quote unquote dead food. It's like calories in there, but not really like doing something for your body. So people who consume a lot of these food, they are overfat. They even can get obese, but they are undernourished. And we have the other side of the coin as well, which is you have these quote unquote skinny fat people who actually look from the outside like, oh yeah, they're fit looking from the outside, but internally, metabolically, they're not really healthy. So there are other systems coming into place, and we touched on this briefly before. It's the soil. It's the system where the agricultural system is using a lot of different stuff, which a couple of them is like chemicals they spray on, or the intensive way of how harvest is done, that the nutrients that's supposed to be in whole foods, they're still not there in that amount if they are there, or you have other things that are added into it. And that leads to bioavailability issues because we have other compounds coming into the whole picture. So in that, if you would even have a lot of whole foods you are eating, you mostly consume foods that are produced somewhere around the world. They are shipped to your country. You buy them in the supermarket. They're not in season. They're not locally grown, and they're not in a soil grown that is high in nutrient density. So the food you're consuming also does not contain a lot of nutrients. And worst case, it may even contains things like chemicals or whatever that do harmful stuff. So this all in all together, which is the toxins I just mentioned, plus the lifestyle factors we all have, which is a stressful life, a lot of things coming together, and factors that in modern society, or at least in Western society, mostly accumulate to the point that we get the data I showed before to have so many people in a chronic diseased state. So I would like to some data here more, and this is also just to give you a brief overview to see a little more what is going on. Right now, this is a fact sheet, and it says that here adults above 65 have these 10 chronic conditions, and here are just a couple to name. I think you heard many of them already. And this is something that at least I believe, and I think Dirk is going to come to that in a second as well. This is something which we can say it does not have to be that way. There are things that you and I can do in order to make that number be lower or maybe even not be there. The certain conditions, they don't have to be there. It's something that is designed in the system to happen, yes. But if we change the system, if we change the factors, if we change the lifestyle, and if we change our nutrition, we actually have some factors in place that we can control, and then we can do something else about this. Because we know, and there's a lot of science which we could even go into, is that nutrition has effects on so many different levels, because there are some things that actually now is proven in so many different ways that the food you eat feeds the microbiome in your gut, and that gut microbiome actually has effects on how you behave, how the neurotransmitters are supported, how they're produced, and that has an effect on how you think and how you feel. So there are things you can put under your control, and we believe nutrition is one of the major factors that you can take into consideration, and you should take into consideration, because prevention is not just an illusion. You can actually prevent those diseases if you act on your lifestyle. And this is something you can do no matter how old you are. If you start today, or if you start in a moment where you know you can certain factors put into place, and we will put some of those here within the webinar, you have an option to do it differently. So I would like to give the word to Dirk, because Dirk is a clinician and he's been working with so many people in different settings. So Dirk, please explain a little to us, what does these number over here mean?
Thank you, Steffen. Hi, everybody. Yes, so in the close to 30 years, I've been in the clinic working with so many patients, consumers, athletes, all kind of diseases. I've been educating healthcare professionals, from medical doctors to even lecturers. And what we see is that so many people, they try to fix the problem with taking a supplement. So if you take a supplement, then you are okay. Then you are excused with the things that you eat at the moment. There may be a ring to it, but basically over 90% of the people don't know what they are using, what kind of supplements they are taking. And if you think you could ask your medical professional or your healthcare professional, most of them have not been educated properly, for that matter. Let me tell you a bit more about what you should be mindful of, where the ingredients for themselves fall short. So the first mistake to make is take a single ingredient in high dosages. What you should understand is that ingredients, molecules inside your body never work singular. They work in harmony with their environments. So combinations are always better than single high dosed ingredients. What the industry is doing most of the time is they get these molecules, vitamins, minerals, in their cheapest form, which can be definitely less beneficial because the absorption into your cells will be much lower and a lot of times even very ineffective. So you have to be mindful of the right quality, and you have to not assume that, well, at least it doesn't hurt, because that is not the case. I'm not going to zoom in on some explanations for that matter, but you can do harm with the wrong molecules in the wrong forms. But most of all, most of the supplements are generic and they are not what you need. So it has to be tailored to your needs, and preferably you have to have ingredients that are tested. And most of the ingredients that we see in the industry, well, we say less than 10% of the supplements are tested clinically, but the number may be a bit lower than that. So the reality of supplement quality is all about clinical testing, and well, most supplements, supplement ingredients fall into these categories, like one, traditional use. So it has been there for, well, now and then even from traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic science for thousands of years. So people knew something about that, and some of these stuff is now being funded in science. But you know, traditional use is one of the main things. Now and then, ingredients have been tested on animals or in petri dishes, but there are small or even low quality human studies being done. But we definitely want the robust clinical evidence, and that's what we are aiming for with R2U. I'll take you along a little bit deeper. So what we are actually saying is it's all about the healthy life of your cells. So if we zoom in this cell, it looks like a planet. If you zoom in, there's so many things going on millisecond by millisecond. But please realize that you have a few of those cells, I mean. So it's about 70 trillion cells. And each cell has specific mechanisms. First of all, the genetic information inside your cells is always the same. But not every detail from your DNA can be copied. For example, you could grow a fingernail from your earlobe by tomorrow. Why does this not happen? Because this is switched off. So we use chemical tags, we call them methyl groups, that can be used to switch genes on and switch genes off. But this mechanism can be disturbed. The healthier this mechanism, which we call epigenetics, so we do not change the letter sequence in your DNA, but we influence what genes are being expressed and which are not, it's really important for longevity and aging, but more important, good performance of cells. It's not a strange idea that the next thing will be that these cells have enough energy to work with. Energy comes from mitochondria. Maybe you've heard of them. We call them the nuclear power plants. But these mitochondria you have in each cell. You see these little red, they look like a bit of a bacteria inside these cells. You have about 200 up to 2,000 of them. But you need it to pay for so many things inside your cells. So the energy, which we call ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is like a chemical currency, like your your bank account. You want to have a lot of it to be paying your detoxification, immune system, etc., etc. Another part, which we call repairing inside your cells, is related to inflammatory processes. And inflammation are key factors inside your cells. So, for example, if we would be sitting in the same room all together and our screen catches fire, what is then the first thing that you will do? You may think, I will run away. You may think, I will get the fire extinguisher. But basically, the first thing that you will do is stop doing what we are doing now and prioritizing this inflammatory process. So flames inside your cells, you want them to be extinguished. Well, let me tell you, Harvard Medical School names inflammation the silent killer. So if we just make a combination of these three mechanisms, we have way more of them, but we emphasize on mechanisms like this. They are linked to the cause of almost all diseases and to aging. And it makes a lot of sense that if these mechanisms are disturbed, you will be fatigued. You will have metabolic disorders, you get immune dysfunction, you even get mood-related conditions, cardiovascular diseases, up to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, etc., even up to cancer. So prevention is not a thing. You should be really mindful about that. Steffen.
Yeah. So I'll take over from here briefly, just for you guys to be on speed with us. So I thought about this right now because we have Dirk as a very prominent expert in science, and I would like to make it very tangible for you guys being over here. So I mentioned the very beginning when I started that I wanted to ask everyone who is here today of these different areas where you see yourself and where do you see having potential for optimization, or where do you even struggle? So these are currently 6 areas that we have identified as main, we call them upgrade areas, where people in common cases would have issues in, and we designed a system where we have certain ingredients, which some of, or basically for the current formulation, all of them are displayed here on the right. And we will talk about those right now and how they actually work for these different issues. So we will go area by area and we will select a couple for today. We're not going to go about all of them. If you want to know more about them, then you will be able to go on our website, and just there we have a main tab for ingredients and you will find all the details over there. But as the webinar today is about aging, let's start with that area first. So for many people who age, there is a certain problem. Over time, they develop certain mechanisms, and some of them Dirk has been explaining, which are then accumulating in a certain form in your metabolic system that will lead to things like oxidative stress, general declining of cellular repair, because this is just what happens to some degree when you are aging. Certain other things that come into place, which potentially you're all kind of aware of, is things like sedentary behavior, or in general, like a pro-inflammatory diet, which just make these things worse. And then certain things, as Dirk was mentioning, can lead to things like chronic inflammation, which even is named the silent killer, because over time, these effects then just accumulate and do more damage. And if you're not actively supporting your natural renewal process, which is also there, then things will happen. And this can lead to things like accelerated biological aging. So that means you have 2 ages. One of them is your chronological age and one is your biological age. And we can measure that today. And then your biological age, which is kind of like how your cells and how your tissues are altering over time. This can be influenced by your lifestyle mainly. But if things are not put into place, then if over time, then there can certain things happen, like loss of vitality or even brain capacity, and some of those factors that Dirk just mentioned can lead then even to disease. So we will go about a couple of these areas later on as well. I mentioned here weakened immunity and reduced physical resilience, but touching base on that later again. So in the regards of this healthy aging and longevity, we put things into our perspective and in our thinking. So the solution to address those metabolic pathways are certain ingredients. And these certain ingredients, I named just a couple of them over here, they help with exactly that. So let's say the first one, levagen. Levagen is a trademarked, registered compound that helps to reduce inflammation and aids exercise recovery and brain health. And then we have another one over there, famidin, which also helps, and it in that case helps to protect from oxidative damage. So now I would like to have Dirk coming in again, and we picked a couple of those. So I highlighted actually those two, which is levagen and quadrafolic. And I would like Dirk now to explain a little, like what are these ingredients and how, in that case, right now, levagen can help us exactly.
Yes, so levagen is basically PEA, palmitoyl ethanolamide. We can get it from exogenous sources, but we build this from ourselves as well. And it's quite a complex molecule, but it has so many effects. For example, on this PPAR alpha, I'm not going to zoom in on the technical details for that method, but it's related to energy production. It's related to your immune system. It's decreasing pain signals. There's a lot of effects coming from this levagen. To mention only this because
Oh, now you're muted.
yeah, wrong button. So I'm only mentioning this at the moment. Let's zoom in a bit more on the quadrafolic, for example, because quadrafolic is 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, which is the active form of folic acid. Folic acid inside your cells do not do so much. You need the active form, for example, to improve your SAMe production. Maybe you heard of this molecule, but I'm going to tell you this is your best friend inside your cells.
Can you, because I think some people they don't have so much science background as you and I do. What is SAMe actually doing? How can we explain that in one or two sentences?
SAMe is the factor that produces these methyl groups, these chemical tags
Mhm.
that are linked to DNA, but
Yeah,
also to neurotransmitters,
yeah,
to energy production,
yeah.
to hormones.
Okay, and if I understand correctly, then these methyl groups they activate genes in the epigenetic pathway or they activate other pathways. Is that correct?
It's not just activating, it's regulating what you need to be
Mhm.
expressing. So I
Yeah.
would actually say the higher levels of methylation you have inside your cells, the
Hmm.
younger you will be. So there is
Mm.
this aging clock. If you want to test the age of specific tissues, you can take samples, but you can do this general in your blood.
Yeah.
The higher your methylation level is, the younger you will be. That's the importance of this quadrafolic.
Nice. Cool. I think we touch back on that later. So now looking at this whole area, we have designed this here, and maybe one or two more sentences on this. What are a couple of others that then come into place here in the longevity formulation?
Yeah, so these are a number of ingredients that have overlapping effects. But for
Hmm.
example, Reagef is supporting NAD,
Hmm.
NMN. We come to that a bit more later on.
Hmm.
It's not just energy production, it's lifespan prolongation as well. At least it is in the rodents. We are testing this in humans, but in Asia, this is really big, for example.
Cool. Yeah. So now for everybody here, this is what you will see also on the part of ingredient tab on our website. You can click on any of those and you will find specific explanatory information why this is helpful. And we have selected these main 6 areas where we're going to walk you through a couple of more. And then you will be able to see later on how this will all come together for a personalized formulation. So let's jump into the next area. So area is energy and vitality. So there are many people having certain problems in that area. In busy lifestyles today, there is a lot of pressure often happening. So people are insufficient recovered, they sleep not enough, or they have an unbalanced daily life, and the rhythm itself is very much strenuous on their system. So it's very heavily taxated. Then a lot of people, they feel constantly exhausted. Some of them is related to, yes, not enough sleep, but some, even if they sleep enough, they still feel exhausted. And then often people run on borrowed energy. So that means they use certain stimuli, which can be caffeine or other substances, which is then kind of like, yeah, mimicking or masking the effect of having energy, but it actually is not that way. So people in general can maybe relate. Some even over here have issues with that. And then sometimes there are aftermath effects of that, which is then you feel depleted afterwards. So you can maybe relate, and you see over here, then people may don't feel vibrant or at all. They are not really centered, and you just feel like you're off, you know? So this will really then lead to certain things, and some of them is really tied to cortisol buildup and overstimulation. So we will talk about that in a second, how that ties together. And in general, you talked about mitochondria, which is one of the key inferentiating factors inside your cells. This is quote unquote the powerhouse of your cells. They are really diminished in your function. And when this gets to a chronic state, like you really constantly depleted on a cellular level. So how to solve this and how we address that with certain ingredients in our formula. So Ryajev just been mentioned, and I think we're going to touch on that right now. And quadrafolic we already mentioned. Then there are two other main ingredients. One of them being, I hope I spelled this right, fermadiola, which also helps with stamina and in general the oxygen supply to your cells, and otherwise fermanolite, which is helping also in general with the mitochondria function. So maybe Dirk, you touched on it briefly. Explain a little more on Ryajev here.
Yeah, so just as you mentioned about these other ingredients, there's always way more to it than we are just explaining. For example, this fermodiola is containing P-tyrosol, which improves oxygen transport, etc. So all factors that we selected for overlapping effects. But one of the very interesting ingredients for this matter is, for example, well, I did mention NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which is the precursor of NAD related to energy production. But NMN is not allowed. It's a novel food. We cannot use it in Europe. We cannot use it in the United States. So if you take the precursor, which is nicotinamide or nicotinamide, with D-ribose, but in such a way, in a patented process, that it boosts your NMN and your NAD production like NMN does. And that's really important for building energy, also known as ATP. And even to lift your finger, that will cost you ATP. You need to build so much ATP throughout the day. You cannot store it. It's a constant process.
Cool. So looking here as well, I think we're going to skip a little over these very much in detail. This is just to give you an impression of, again, many ingredients we put together in every section, and you will find multiple ingredients in multiple sections because, as we mentioned, they have overlapping effects. I'm just going to go briefly over this here because I'm seeing we're already far ahead in the masterclass. So I'm just going to touch on this because I think this is very important for many people as well in modern society. Stress and mood. People constantly being stressed, constantly feeling pressured, constantly feeling like they're not really centered. So some of these things will have effects not just on the nervous system with regards to how it is acting out on your mood, but also how it is acting out on your physical capacity and also how it is acting out on your cellular level. So things like nervous system regulation and weakened stress tolerance will have effects over time on metabolic pathways. So again, we also, I think you get the picture right now, we have put into solution certain ingredients, one of them being Afron, which is a very cool ingredient. And I think we will touch on that as well. Quadrafolic has been explained. So maybe Dirk, explain a little on this one here and then on the next one.
Yeah, so if you are well balanced in your body chemistry, you will be stress resilient and you will have a better emotional balance. But when you are being pressured, your hypothalamus is measuring that, is taking all the signals of the body and tells the pituitary, okay, so we need to handle this, create a new balance to deal with the situation, which is telling then your adrenal cortex to produce cortisol.
Yeah.
Cortisol, we call it a stress hormone. It is not. It's actually an energy regulation hormone. But if you stress it too much, you will have all these negative effects.
Cool. Yeah, so this one here is specifically on Afron. I think this is a very cool ingredient. Where does Afron come from?
From the Crocus sativa, meaning, you can use the stems from the crocus even
Yeah.
into your food, and it gives you this deep orange coloring
Yeah.
of
It's called saffron, isn't it?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
from saffron. Yeah, Crocus sativus is the Latin name.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
and this is really interesting because, tryptophan is a small molecule, an amino acid, which is the smallest particles of protein. We have
Mm-hmm.
about 22 of them, and this is one of them. This is one of the 8 that we cannot produce ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But this tryptophan can go down to this quinolinic acid, so which is down the line. Afron blocks the conversion. If it goes down the line, you will get overstimulated with glutamate in your brain. On the other hand, it does more than what we see on this picture. It improves the conversion of tryptophan to serotonin and actually to melatonin as well, but it has an effect on the receptors for that neurotransmitter serotonin, which gives you the I'm okay, everything
Mm.
cool
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, I think we have one more slide here, but again, it's an overview slide. I'm gonna go a bit briefer over these ones here because I think you guys get the idea. We can go in depth again on this. We just explain these to give you something you can relate to because they're different areas. People come here from different paths, have different issues. Some of them, maybe you over here have problems with focus. You don't feel like you can sustain focus over time, or you feel you're constantly overstimulated, your heightened senses, and you're not really like being able to think clearly. When that happens over time, cognitive decline can happen and brain fog can happen. Things like the impaired decision making is a result of that. And in order to focus on these things, we also have a couple of ingredients that are put in. One of them is the top one, Myco Thrive. It's a formula from different mushroom-derived ingredients. Also, B-Lit, it's a different form of active B vitamins, this way around. And this is something we touched on briefly before, which is the quadrafolic. I think we're not going to go on this again, just because of time. And I'm just going to skip through this right now. But this is an important part. I think, Dirk, can you explain a little how all of this we've just been mentioning, how that would actually come together?
Yeah, so we selected ingredients with huge overlapping effects with proven results from clinical studies. So now the only thing that we need to do is um, analyze, making sure that we get the right ingredient setting for you as an individual at the
Mm,
moment in time where you are now. And we do this starting with this digital health survey. That's mandatory. That touches on 63 data points, which is quite a lot.
mm,
And don't think that it's just a survey. If you do blood testing like blood biomarkers, which is optional, we can link our algorithm to the results as well. But we should look beyond numbers of blood results. We can combine this, but we should look at your characteristics. We test this, we analyze this, and we select ingredients for 2 capsules per day. This is not a curative setting. This is a preventative setting, but you can take your curative strategy and use your combination as a starting point, as a fundament for
mm,
that. Actually, we also have the possibility to connect, to link to wearables. So your
mm.
Oura Ring, your Apple Watch, whatever.
Yeah.
and
I
we
think,
can measure and we create a measuring loop.
yeah.
But you can.
So, yeah, yeah. Just to give you guys an overview again, because this is the key, that's the juicy part of how we actually make this very approachable for your specific case. I think we touched on it right now. Just for you to understand, I think Dirk explained it very nicely. We have different options of combining a way of a survey, which is very personalized as well. And Anna said this in the very beginning, but maybe can you explain once more that people really understand how that questionnaire is a valid source of actually doing this?
I can give you many examples, but from 30 years in the clinic, we see that blood does not tell the whole story. We can
Mm,
zoom on specific areas like the ones you see on the right,
mm,
and they will give us the broader overview of what is most important to your daily functioning,
yeah.
your daily performance.
Yeah. Okay. I think, Jack, let's make it tangible for people over here. We prepared a little case study over here, actually two. Maybe we just do one for today, or just briefly. Can you showcase to people like how is that then coming together?
Yeah, let me, maybe we can do both of them because we will look
Mm-hmm.
in the differences. For
Okay.
example,
Yeah.
this young woman, 27 years old, likes to improve her stress resilience, sleep quality, immunity, and defense. But what came out of it most predominantly was that she needed more energy to begin with. So Reajev is one of the ingredients for that. We have this B-lit, which is Bacopa monnieri extract, which has an effect on brain energy, but also brain balance, emotional balance. With Efron included, well, you get then this overview that you see here, really precise dosaging in 2 capsules. And make no mistake, you may think 628 milligrams. Well, that's the active ingredients. You always have carriers inside capsules, and having, but basically this is 1200 milligrams to begin with of capsule
Mm-hmm.
of the capsules. But this is quite close to what this young woman is looking for. But let me explain about Mr. P. This is a young male, I would say 39 years old, looking for longevity, sleep quality, and energy and vitality. And basically, what we found in his result is that he needed this, well, let's say, dopamine boost in his brain. So combinations like this Nord release, which is lion's mane mushroom extract, but also fermidine, because that is taking on aging quite specifically. And he already had signs and symptoms of aging at the age of 39. So this will lead up to a combination of molecules, also including vitamin A, D, E, and K, which is always important. We are
Mm.
lacking these fatty acid, fatty soluble vitamins. A lot of us do. So this is a combination quite specific for this person.
Okay, so maybe now people are over here questioning because they've joined this webinar. They would like to know how they can improve their aging in aging well. So let's explain briefly how can people who joined here today actually get their personalized formula.
Well, it's quite simple. You go to our website, complete the 10-minute online health survey. Then our algorithm will select the best suited ingredients for you and will show it on screen, and will look like this. And if you then decide to order, then you fill in your code from our offer today, and then your personalized formula will be produced, and you
Yeah.
will receive this in a nice box within a really short term.
I guess we did this right now in a certain way where we told you guys a lot of things today, and because of time, I'm going to skip through the last part of this a little more briefly. We obviously told you a lot today about how normally supplementation is done. So there is normally the way of the one size fits all. It is the generic way. It is not in the right dosage. It's with ingredients that are not tested. And it's also never really clear if the results you're going to get from that are actually doing the thing. So if the ingredients you're taking actually reach your cells. A lot of these formulations out there, some even biohackers, some even other protocols, they claim to be a quick fix. And often this is something that is really not working. So we tried today to showcase a little the art of you way, why we do the things we do and how we do the things we do. I think we touched on many of those points. I'm just going to briefly mention them again. But the main key we wanted to bring across today is that we have a very unique technology, which is the patent ACG machine with an algorithm backed by University of Westminster in the way how we precisely can give you a formulation with ingredients that in synergy work together to actually address your different issues you have. And depending on the issues you have, you fill out the questionnaire, and based on that, you will get a formulation that's really focusing on your key areas. So to sum it up, what sets us apart from the industry? I'm going to make this briefly because we talked about the pharmaceutical grade technology in the beginning. Anna gave you the explanation for that. We have the true personalization that is actually happening because we really are able to get over 1,000 different variations of formulation with these 29 ingredients, but they're tailored according to your needs and what you fill out in the questionnaire. Then we have the clinical validation with University of Westminster. And we talked in depth today about these premium ingredients because we want to make sure that you understand there's a difference between B vitamins and B vitamins. And there's a difference between certain precursors and certain formulations and not having those formulations. So what we use is only the Rolls-Royce ingredients, and we never use generic ingredients. We just use the top-notch you can find on the market. What we do with Art of You is combining all this, but make it radical simple. So that means we boil this complexity down in actually just 2 capsules, and I'll touch on that in a second again. Last but not least, we are a company that's not just like shipping somewhere from China or we have production somewhere around the world. We do this in Europe, and every formula is produced just once you hit the button after you filled in, you ordered and you filled in your questionnaire, then it's produced based on your results. So we talked a lot about, we're going to give you a couple more examples of people that actually use the product. And one of them we already showcased today. One person over here is another person I'd like to mention, which is Maria in the middle. Maria is a person, she's a mom of 2 kids, and she's been giving birth to them. And after the second birth, she actually felt that really she wants to do something for her health. So it was not just about really like aging well, but she really felt like I need to do something for my health. And she took the product for a couple of weeks, and she really was amazed by not just only how simple it is, but that it had an effect on her. And I would like to mention also Alpha on the right side here. He's a multiple company owner who's very busy, and he's been doing many things, but for him, it's also like being on the go a lot. So for him, the simplicity of just having to travel with a package and taking 2 capsules a day really is remarkable for him to feel changes with using the product. So once again, to sum it up, how the technology works, we have a difference to normal supplementations out there. If you want to have the effect that we are combining, you would normally need to take 10 to 15 different pills, which are then still not addressed in a certain dosage and ratio to your needs, but we make that in a way that it's personalized. So all in all, the way how we do it, it can be 10 times or even more potent than having single ingredients and making it in a way that less is actually more. So if you guys out there would like to try this yourself, we have something that I would like to showcase once more. You can do this on your own. You will go out there, you will find ingredients. We spoke about a couple of those today. And this is just a brief overview how much that will cost you. You will find those ingredients. You have to do a little research. You maybe be able to find even the trademark ones. Yeah, it's possible. But the point is when you will do it with Art of You, it's even better. Why? Because we have this whole personalization algorithm. We have the high absorption beadlet technology. We also have an app actually on top. So there is possibility that you not just have this totally boiled down, but it's actually a lot of thinking being put behind the curtain that you have a very easy job because you just have to take 2 pills a day. I'm just going to make a brief summary because we're running short in time today. What we covered today, we hope we made clear that supplements in the normal way, they're not sufficient and they're using cheap ingredients and mostly they're not designed for your specific case. Your health is really based on different key areas, one of them being the energy production, inflammation control, gene expression, and the so-called senolytics recycling. And this is even more important when we talk about healthy aging. Out of you here as the company and people who talked here, we really are part of the first platform in Europe that personalizes supplementation in using pharmaceutical grade technology, and we deliver this in 2 capsules. So with all we've tried to explain here today, we use the clinical experience, we use the science, the technology to really make personalized supplementation, and we want to make it available for everybody. So we would like you to try it. We give you the special offer. Just go on our website, click the link. Otherwise, we will be here for another little round of Q&A. I think maybe there have been a couple of questions in the chat. I think I received 1 or 2 as well. Maybe Frederick, can you help us? And then we will have a couple of questions answered by Dirk.
Yes, thank you, Steffen. Yeah, we are a bit limited on time, but let's see what we can answer, starting with the first one. So on what is the personalization based again? Is it based on the blood test or the questionnaire? Dirk, maybe for you?
Yes, Frederick, first of all, we take the health assessment because we get all these characteristics from your daily functioning to recognize what areas are important. And blood tests are optional, but not mandatory.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I think that's very clear. Moving on to the next one. So what if I'm already taking supplements?
Also a good question. I think I mentioned quite briefly a bit earlier, but basically, the selection that we designed specifically for you does not have to be limited by just taking these capsules. I know about so many people who like to have some magnesium, vitamin C, but we didn't include them because basically they are high volume ingredients, but you can stack them on top of the fundament that we provide with Art of You. But you may be on a curative strategy also, and if you are absolutely sure that these are supplements that you should be taking, you can combine them.
Yeah.
Okay, very clear. So maybe one last question. So how is this different from competitors? I think we already mentioned a bit about this, but do we want to further explain on this?
Maybe you, Steffen?
Yeah, I can touch on this briefly. I think what makes us different to competitors out there, maybe you guys know some of them. I'm not going to mention names right now. There are companies out there who give you this all-in-one product, and they tell you this is like scientifically validated, blah, blah, blah. Again, we mentioned it's an all-in-one product, which is a one-size-fits-all, and it's not tailored to your specific needs. That's the one part of the equation. And then there are other competitors out there who maybe have even a similar product to ours, which is also like kind of like little beetlets or something similar to beetlets, but it does not have the beetlet technology that we have because we are the only one who are able to use that technology inside Europe. And they have a little difference in the sense of not the release technology and also the, let's call it, equal distribution of ingredients within one dosage, because that is only really doable if you make it microencapsulated with these 2 capsules. I'm very happy you guys took the time today. Thank you very much for being here. If there are any more other questions, feel free to reach out. Click on our website, outofyou.live. We just redesigned the whole thing. send us an email to all of you. We will send out an email with a couple more details. Yeah, other than that, thank you for being here, taking the time, and I think we're going to close the webinar in a couple seconds.